Today I'm going to show you how I make a 20-ounce tumbler. I really love drinking cold beverages out of this, like iced coffee, which is good this time of year. Anyway, I started off with a paper cup that was, folded up. I unraveled it, cut off the bottom, and then I took, I like using stiffer paper, so in this case I use this manila file folder paper, and I placed the cup onto the paper and drew an outline. So that's the inside one. And then because I wanted to make a bigger cup than the paper cup was, I extended the lines on either side at about the same distance. And then I drew the curve to match the curve of the original cup. And this one was from the original. I just extended the curve here. Once I tested it out and decided that that's what I wanted to use, I put it on something more permanent, which is this craft foam. And I wrote on it what it is because I forgot to write it the first time, and I ended up using the craft foam for something else by accident. But luckily I still had my paper template. Anyway, I have here a slab that I prepared, and I have this texture ball that I'm going to use that I haven't used that much, but it's really cool. It's really fun. Anyway, so I'm going to just roll the texture ball across the slab to make a design. And it's fun because depending on what you do with your hand, it does, different parts of it end up making different designs. And this little end here makes a really fun, it's almost like a little star. So, okay. Now because I've pressed down on the slab, I'm just going to lift it some. This clay is kind of wet to start, so be careful when I put this down. So I'm going to put down my template, and then I have you can use a pin tool, anything you want, that doesn't go, that has a pointed edge and doesn't go all the way through, because just in case you mess it up, you could rub out your lines if you wanted to do it again. But if you cut all the way through, you're kind of screwed. So I'm going to draw out the template, and then I'm going to find my knife, and using those lines, I'm going to cut away the extra clay. And you want to be careful doing this because you want it to be as close, whoops, and there I go, I screwed it up. You want to be as close to the template shape as possible, because that will make the cup, the walls meet in the right place and the rim be even. I mean, there's a little leeway, but you want to try and be as close as possible. Okay, so now we have this piece. Pick it up carefully so you don't stretch it out. And this one's kind of wet, so I can't really do anything with it at the moment. And then for the base of the cup, I use this cookie cutter, a large cookie cutter. And I'm going to just press down and have a cutout shape. So that's the first step. I'm going to let these dry up some so that they can hold their stiffness, and then I'll move on to the next step. Okay, it's time for the next step where we put the cup together. So I have here the slab. It's still pretty bendy, the cutout. And what I'm going to do first is smooth out the lines. And this is actually on the verge of being, smooth out the edges. This is actually on the verge of being a little too dry. You really almost want it slightly floppy when you do it, so that there's a less of a chance that it's going to want to come apart. Okay, so I've had some split, not where you would think they would split at the seam, but on the opposite side, because the center, this part over here, was too dry and it just split open from the bend. So one thing you want to do is kind of make a little bit of a line on the inside, pressing down with your finger at a bit of an angle so that you can encourage where you're going to create the lip. All right, so what I have here is a this tool by Zium, which is great. I don't know if you've seen it before. You can cut angles with it. So I'm going to cut 45-degree angle on either side of the slab. I like to put my finger at the end so that when I get to the end I kind of just snap off the piece. Now the trick here is you need to do it on the, you need to flip the slab over and do it on the opposite sides. Okay. So that when they join, it all fits together and you won't have all this like excess clay there. So I like to smooth out the edge there a little bit. So then we're gonna score. Both sides. Oops. Okay. And it's more important even on this one that's going to be on the outside that you smooth it out a little so you don't have too rough an edge. Then we're going to use slip on both sides. Okay. And then we pick it up and I like to join the top first. So I join the top and then I meet it at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. And then push in a little bit. And then with your finger, I am right-handed, so this is a little awkward. You have your finger on the inside and a finger, and you're pressing from the outside to your finger on the inside and going up the side of the seam. Okay. Good to make sure the bottom is joined. Now, of course, this is completely not round. So I have this tool that I made based on a video by Bill Van Gilder. He calls it a rounder. And he was using it specifically for mugs that he threw after putting a handle on to get it back to round. But I found this actually helps me to get these slabs to round. As I said, this slab is a little bit stiff, so it's being a little difficult. But it's never going to be perfectly round. It is a slab piece, and it's very hard to get the slab. It wants to open up, so it's kind of hard to get it to go to round completely, and usually it'll push out a little bit where the seam is, so you're just trying to have as little of that happen as possible. All right, so what I like to do is let them sit for a bit. So I actually have another one here that has stiffened up. I'm going to just put this one here. This one is stiffened up a bit. Again, throughout the process I'll do this, the rounder, as it's drying slowly. This is pretty good. All right. Let's see on the bottom. Okay. And then I have the circle I cut out before. I'm going to smooth the edges. On both sides. Okay, and it's nice to, if you put a stamp on your bottom of your piece, to do it now, because it's a flat surface, so it makes it easier. I'm going to put it here on the side where there's a space in the texture. Okay, and now we're going to do our usual score and slip. I like using a banding wheel for this. It really helps if you have one. If you don't, you can still do it without. Oops, I don't know if you can see that. So I'm scoring. I'm going to put slip. Okay, put that aside for a moment. Slip this one. give this little round, give it a little tap. And then put it down here. And from looking down, you can see one, that it's still pretty round, and that you want to make sure that there isn't anything, because this particular circle fits pretty perfectly, so you want to just make sure it's on, that all the edges it's not over any of the edges, and it's actually on top of the circle. Okay, so now I'm pressing down just a little bit to get it to attach. I'm going to flip it over, and you can play with it a little more here. And then I'm going to take a pony roller, and I'm going to push down and over to the side. And that will just get a little bit of the clay to go over the edge of the cup, so that it'll overlap. You see how it's overlapping a little bit. You could make a circle that's a little bit bigger. This just happened to be right the same size as my cup, so I went with it. And then you can take the roller and just smooth it out. I mean, you're not trying to, I like to have the line show, but you do want to press it against the cup. So I still leave it so you can see that it was a hand-built. Well, it's pretty obvious it's hand-built, but you know what I mean. Like, you can see where the seams are. Okay. And then we want to flip it over and put it here on the wheel, kind of centered. Take a sponge and you can do just on here if you want to smooth it out. I'm kind of pinching it the sponge a little bit, and pressing on the inside a little bit harder so that I can get just a tiny bit of a is indentation the right word? Like a slant, so that it's nice on your mouth. You can also do this on the wheel, which I am going to show you. But this is you could stop here if you wanted to, or you could move on to the wheel. But I'll show you that in a moment. Oh, wait, one more thing I forgot. I take either a kind of stiff paintbrush or a rubber rib tool, which I seem to have misplaced. So today I'm going to use a rubber tip tool, sorry. Today I'm going to use this. And I just kind of rub the seam on the inside just to make sure it's clean and attached. And that's pretty good. It's pretty round and it's clean in there. I don't know if you can see that. And I like these to dry slowly. Oh, but I am going to show you that one other step. So I'll be right back. Okay, so for this last step, we're on the wheel, which is kind of funny after everything else was hand built. So you're going to put a little water down on the base of the wheel. You're going to take the cup and kind of, it's kind of hard to perfectly center it, but get it somewhat centered, and then just squish it down a little so that it kind of sticks. And then I'm using a chamois. You can use a sponge, a chamois, whatever you want. But basically you're just trying to, oopsie, sometimes that happens. So you're just trying to get it smooth and centered and get kind of a little, I think I had too much water, kind of a little bit of a nice lip, like you would on any drinking vessel. And this also helps it to get closer to being round. And that's it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.